Okay.
All right, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the distinct pleasure of being joined by Coach D. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. And anytime you say things like distinct pleasure, I'm like, you're raising the bar too high, man. Let's say
No.
got this bum, and then let's hope I can, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's lower the bar, man. Don't say distinct.
No. No. It's always a good time whenever I get to share the camera with Coach D to prove that we are in fact different people. And I don't even think we look that much alike. We just have the same like hair or whatever. But that's kind of it. But yeah, but you know how white folks are. You know? So, John, how you doing today?
Everyone thinks I'm Rob McElhenney, so it's okay.
Oh my God, you do look like Rob McElhenney. Holy shit! You know what? I've had that thought like subconsciously. I've never actually processed it, but it is there because like, oh my God, you do. Holy shit. So Rachel Hyatt, who is not Rachel Hyatt. Rachel Hyatt is Ben. Says, what's up, Coach D? Oh, I should pop it up on the screen here. It says, what's up, Coach D? Do you follow Coach D on TikTok, Ben? You should. He is a fantastic account. So, all right. Oh, okay. So when I reached out to Coach D, asking him to come on the show, I asked, I was like, so we asked the guests, it's like, hey, is there any topic that you would like to discuss? You know, make you feel more at home and everything. And his response was, what do you say? You said, I know the issue is kind of old at this point, but I'd like to discuss the man versus man versus bear debate and everything like that. So I was trying to find an interesting way to cover this topic that we could, fit in here. And I thought of one, and it's the fact that I'm sure you guys have seen this lately, the fact that men and women are diverging politically. I don't know where I came up with that word, but it's diverging politically that could shape the 2024 election. So I'm going to go over this article, just a few things on here, that Democrats are facing the threat of a gender gap that could imperil the traditional advantage among younger voters that the party has enjoyed for decades, and that President Biden needs to defeat former President Donald Trump. And researchers say democracies across the Western world are experiencing a widening partisan and ideological gap between younger men and women. In a much discussed article this year, Financial Times columnist John Murdoch pointed to survey data in a variety of countries showing that young men were far more likely to identify as conservative than young women. In countries on every continent, an ideological gap has opened up between young men and women. That gap has widened in the U.S. too, though the evidence shows that it is growing more because young women are ideologically moving to the left than because men are moving to the right. Merged annual results from NBC polls conducted by a bipartisan team of Democratic and Republican pollsters document this trend. This is interesting. In 2013, the share of young men between 18 and 29 who called themselves conservative very slightly exceeded the share of those who identified as liberal. And by 2023, the pollsters found that young men had shifted slightly left, with slightly more now identifying as liberal and conservatives. But over that same 10-year period, young women sped leftward, and there were 3 times as many of them that identified as liberal as conservative. So what's usually been put forward in media these days, I don't know if you guys noticed this, is that, did we lose Coach?
I don't know. Maybe.
Coach, are you there? Oh, no.
Well, keep it rolling, TJ. We'll wait for Coach to come back in.
So what I've heard usually is that men are identifying more as conservative and women are identifying more as liberal. But the reality is young men are still identifying more as liberal, just women are identifying more as liberal. So we'll go to you, John, first, since we lost Coach there. But we're just talking about the fact that it's not that men are becoming more conservative, like that young men are still mostly liberal. It's just women are becoming a lot more liberal. So what was your interpretation of this when you ran across it, John?
Yeah, so I was actually surprised to read that in the survey, because I was also under the impression that women are moving left or young women are moving left and young men are moving right, whereas in reality, they're both moving left. Women are just moving left faster, which is I was surprised by that. But I think that it's very interesting the way the article was phrasing it, because it mentioned several times, it was like, men are mainly focusing on economic issues and women are focusing more on social issues. But every time it mentioned differences in that article, They were cultural, social issues like immigration and trans rights. It wasn't economic issues. We lost Coach D again. I was about to tee him up too. I was about to tee him up with the bear thing, but no, it wasn't economic issues. It was culture issues. Like the thing that is dividing young men and women right now, I do think is the culture war stuff. I think that it probably goes both ways too. Like I imagine if you were to just like take the culture war out of it, you would probably see just slightly more, women leaning slightly left and compared to the young men. But I think that the culture war drags a lot of young men to the right because a lot of the things that young men are interested in tend to be right-wing culture war-ish stuff, like your Joe Rogan experience. Like I think those things are pulling a lot of young men to the right. And it just is a social norm sort of thing to hate the libs. Even like myself, going like from college, like I knew a lot of frat guys that like were go Trump, go fuck Joe Biden, whatever, but like they didn't give a shit. It was just a cultural thing, and I think that young women also have the same thing to the left. I think that like a lot of young men join the Republican Party because it would be uncool in their social circles to do otherwise. And I think probably an equal amount of young women do the same for the Democrats and more left-wing issues. I don't think this is an innate thing. I really just think this is more of just a social phenomenon, but I could be wrong. I didn't do any studies on this.
I know. I want to point out too that Ben, he didn't say "What up, Coach D." He said, "Who is Coach D?" I didn't notice that until I just pointed this out here. Yeah. So, but Coach D, he's on TikTok and YouTube. He has fantastic content there. I know we'll get him back here, but
yeah, I'm really hoping we get him back.
I know, right? Yeah, but he's really great, folks. But so you were talking about how young men are like they're more slowly left than the women are, and for what reasons that might be. And like men are pretty much always more conservative than there he is.
There we go.
Sorry, Coach. You were I have 4 screens up and I had one of them as the graph, and so I didn't see you backstage. But did you hear what John said?
Yes, I heard all of that, and I would have to agree. And I was gonna ask, do you guys think it has to do with like I'm gonna forget this guy's name, but the dude who was on TikTok and he got caught in like Italy or something. The dude who like indoctrinated Andrew Tate. Yeah, I think it's. First of all, let's just be real here. Men will identify with conservatism because conservatism is very like male dominated. The women are under you, like subservient women, all that. And I think if you look at it, they've appealed to men in that way because you have a lot of women who will say, well, I let the man lead me. The man leads the house. And if the man says, we're voting for Trump. I think you take religion and misogyny, and you'll get a lot of, especially your 18 to 25-year-olds, which is I think what the story says. They're going to lean more that way because, I mean, let's be real here. We kind of tend to be a little bit more misogynistic and a little bit more, Neanderthalish and everything. And so, and I think what John was saying is right. It's the culture war thing. It has nothing to do with ideology. I think most people would say they think women should have bodily autonomy, but I don't think men think of that as like a big issue for them. I think they see it as, here's this, here are the liberals who have become, they allow women to do what they want to do. And, they can lead the home if they want to. And, and then you have these boys who maybe are being raised by these men who are like, nah, screw that boy, you're supposed to run things or whatever. So I think it's something that will change. Although I do blame Democrats and the way that the Democratic Party just doesn't seem to have. They're just the worst when it comes to like articulating what they think and like relating to like the populace. They want to argue some of the dumbest things sometimes when there are big topics that they've actually done a pretty good job with. They don't talk about as much. So, yeah.
Yeah. We talk all the time about how lefty messaging is just terrible. It's so awful. And in a way, we're at a big disadvantage, because what we talk about all the time is how, especially once you get far left, if you like, you can kind of swim in the waters with liberalism, but once you get like deep into like, you know, socialism and stuff, it's almost so necessarily academic that it's hard to explain in punchy, quick, very fast terminology. Like you
Trust
don't
us,
need.
this is what we do for hours and hours and hours a week, is try to condense these concepts into short, punchy videos. It is harder than you think.
It's so difficult, because look, if we were conservatives, it'd be so easy. It's like, yeah, there's two genders, because you say that stuff and, you know, it's like on the surface level, it makes perfect sense. Like, oh yeah, of course, there's men and women. You don't got to think about it. And so all conservative messaging is like that. But, you know, I'm going to sit up here and tell you about they're going to tell you, well, you know, a rising tide raises all boats, and, you know, trickle down economics. And I'm going to get up here and start talking about marginal tax rates and quantitative ease. I'm going to lose people in 10 seconds. And so we're at a huge disadvantage that way. And the same goes for, you know, gender stuff, because like you and John both mentioned something about how men, the aggrievement. This is like what drives conservative ideology, is aggrievement, that there's something that I am owed. I was born into the United States of America, the greatest country in the world. God has blessed me and given me this birthright. I'm supposed to get what I have coming, and I'm supposed to have a wife, 3 kids, a house, picket fence, and they're not getting any of that, like none of it. And no one has prepped them into why this works. I saw a funny TikTok about this, and about it's interesting that guys can't stop bitching about the fact that they can't get laid. What's really weird about it is like, it's never been easier to be a single man than right now. Like, it has never been easier. And they're just blowing it, but they don't know how to talk to women. They don't know what women want. They don't know what women like. They don't believe women when they say what they say. And speaking of which, the bear conversation. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but women have said for a long time that if they were alone in the woods and they ran into something, whether it be a bear or a man, women are picking the bear, and that perplexes women. And Coach D, what are your thoughts on that? Why do you think men can't wrap their minds around this?
My thing is, like, the problem I find with most men on this topic is they want to analyze all the bad things that bear could do to you physically, right? That bear will rip her limbs off. Why would she ever choose a bear over a man? And my thing is, like, I have 2 daughters and a wife. I don't give a damn about the bear. I give a damn about the fact that if you ask a woman, would she rather encounter a bear or a man in the woods, she actually has to think about it. Like, she has to go, let me think about that for a second. Because we know that, like, the amount of sexual assault and you know, all the things that are going on is at such a high level that a woman has to actually go, I'd like to think about that. We all know what a bear would do to us, right? I know what a bear could do to us. I just want to get to a point where we're saying, where the woman is just like, easily a man. Like, why the hell would I want to encounter a bear in the woods, you know? But they want to argue about, like, the things that are so, like, trivial, where it's, your argument should be, wait, why would they even consider a bear? And what could we do better to make them just go, yeah, that's easy? Like I said in my TikTok, if you ask me right now, hey, Demetrius, do you want $1 million, or do you want to put your hand in the garbage disposal? I wouldn't go, TJ, let me think about that for a second. I'm going to say $1 million. Like, it would be easy. That answer should be easy, because we all know, like, if you encounter the right man, like, the things, they'll probably try to rescue you, help you, or whatever, right? If you encounter a bear, period, it's probably going to rip your limbs off. So the fact that a woman has to think about it, given the fact that there are, like, pretty much 100% of the time, if it's you and the bear and there's going to be any type of interaction, that bear is going to kill you. If it's you and the man, there's a chance it's your brother, your uncle, the people you trust. There are men that you trust. The fact that you still think about it, it's just crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy. And I get so mad at these dumbasses who are like, well, this bear would do all these things. No, you're missing the point. The point is, why would they even have to think about it? Like, what the hell are we doing that they have to think about the answer to that question. And that's, I don't know, that's where I am on it right now. But I've seen, man, like I came across a video, a woman was addressing this, and she played a video of another creator who I really respect. I'm not even gonna say his name right now because I don't want to associate it with this. Because I was like, man, he missed the mark on this in a way, and she kind of called him on it. And a lot of the people in her comments were like, I really like this guy. He does a lot of good things, but that was off because he said something like, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see a woman encounter a bear in the barista that's at Starbucks, and I want to see them choose that bear over the barista. Like, nah, man, nah. Like that's, and it didn't come. I mean, everybody took it like, so this is funny to him, and you know, it's just bad. And so that's what kind of piqued my interest on the whole thing, because I've seen a lot of creators have covered it and covered it very well. So I wasn't going to cover it at all, but you know, I think about my two daughters, and I'm like, hey, like they should be able to answer that question easily, you know?
Yeah, and I think that was a great point there with the garbage disposal and the $1 million. It should be an easy answer to the question. It's not. A someone who is intelligent, who is questions things they see in life, the first thing they'd say is why is this the case? Why are these women saying, because clearly that doesn't make sense. Like your knee-jerk reaction is like, no, why would you ever pick a bear over a man? And there are a lot of these, especially conservative leaning young men are like, oh, well, you must be wrong. The problem is you being wrong about what your chances of survival are. And they completely miss the actual problem, which is, as you said, that they feel like there's even a question in the first place is the problem. And I know that, if you're a young man, you're conservative leaning, I know you've heard a lot of influencers that you like tell you that you need to take more personal responsibility. Personal responsibility is the key to life. Well, take some personal responsibility here. Be the type of man that makes women not feel like they're going to be a danger to see you in the woods as opposed to a bear. If every single man took that personal responsibility, there would no longer be a question. There would no longer be a debate about this. But we don't. And it's like, okay, well, I'm being a good man. I'd be better in the woods than a bear. And it's like, cool. I know you have buddies that wouldn't. I know for a fact, especially if you are a young man in conservative leaning circles, you have friends that do not treat women with respect and are dangerous when they're around women. I know because I've also been a young man in those social circles. And you know what I don't see a lot in those social circles? Young men calling other young men out. So if you want to take this like conservative philosophy, this conservative lifestyle, fine. Be the man who takes personal responsibility for making sure women no longer feel safer in the woods with a bear than they do a man, even if they're lying about that. Make it so that there's no longer a question, and hold your buddies who make them feel unsafe accountable. I guarantee you it'll definitely help this problem for you. TJ, what do you think?
Yeah, I also think not only do you have friends that have said terrible things about women or to women or around women, or acted in a way that was aggressive that may have made people uncomfortable. Not all of you have seen that. You've done that. You've done it. Let's be real here. Like guys love to just pretend that they have been angels from the day they were born until right now. No, you fucking haven't. I'm not saying you're a terrible human being. I'm not saying you haven't grown, you haven't learned from your mistakes. I'm saying to acknowledge it. This is what really bugs me about right-wingers, is that they act like that, issues like racism and sexism and homophobia are all just externalities that bad people, exude, and not like a societal, scourge that infects everyone. Like when I was in college, one thing that really fascinated me was a study I saw where it was a psychology study. And they took these images and they would just flash the images in front of people, and they would read their brain, like a brain scan of them, like what center is activated in their brain. And so they just flashed random images of people, and they saw what part of your brain activated like fear or anger and everything like that. And, no surprise, whenever they saw black people, the fear popped up even for black people. That's what was interesting to me. It was even for Black people because we have been raised in a white supremacist culture too. We have. And so like we're all infected by this. And so this is the problem when we start making it individualistic, that this is a bad person, this is a bad person, this is a good person, this is no, this is a society issue. And so like when you guys are talking about how guys will dismiss women's answers, it's like, yeah, because they think they're dumb. Like they immediately go into, are you stupid? Don't you know what a bear can do? Do you know what a bear is? And it's like they just
Have
completely
you seen The Revenant?
Have you seen The Revenant? Have you seen The Revenant? Like you ain't getting an Oscar after this. So that's what I think it comes down to, is that it's a failure of society in general in having people understand issues of, you know, sexism and violence and power structure and making everything individualistic. That's kind of what I think it runs down to. What was your coach?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because about, you know, you not only have seen it, you not only have friends of it, but you've also been there. You know, my wife and I have been together since high school. So we've been together and married now for 23 years. My oldest daughter, one time we were having a conversation about, you know, guys and stuff, right? And she's talking about, you know, like, I just think if a guy is this way or says this thing or has ever done these things, like, I'm cutting him off, you know? I would never talk to him. And it was like, I'm sitting there thinking, you know, man, your dad was an asshole at some point. Like, and so like, I've had to have this conversation with her about like, hey, I know you look up to me as this great person, and I've always been a great dad to you, but your dad has, you know, like I remember her one time saying, you know, if a boy's not in AP classes, like, why would I talk to him? I'm like, dad never in an AP class. Like, your dad met your mom when he was retaking geometry, and she was like in it as an upperclassman. Like, come on, you know. So I think you're right. Like, it's pathetic that people try to hide the fact that if you're a man in America, the chances that you've said or done something that would be considered misogynistic, just sex, you know, just horrible. Even the things we think sometimes, like my wife and I were literally having this conversation. She's like, you ever think like things like really bad about people and stuff? And I'm like, no, why? What are you thinking? And she's just like, well, sometimes you get things in your head, but like, yeah, we all get things in our head. We're like, get that out of there, you know? So to pretend that, and it's crazy because conservatives will do this a lot. They'll pretend like, you know, like sexual assault is not something that's that big of a deal. What the hell are you talking about? Like, I know for sure in college, I've been around dudes who I know would have done things that like we've been around dudes where we've had to be like, hey, watch him, bro, because we know he can do it sometimes. For people to pretend this doesn't exist, it's crazy to me, because the second we were to do that, we would easily start understanding and being way better to women. Like the second we decided, hey, we all know these dudes that are like that. I was that way one time. I said some pretty bad stuff. I've done some things, you know. If we all actually admitted that, it would be way easier for us to go, yeah, of course they would choose the damn bear. We need to be better. But, you know, we just don't. We pretend that like, nah, we've been perfect. And I'm 49 years old right now. I've never done anything wrong in my life. Like, come on, you know, come on.
I like that you brought up talking to your daughter. Do you have sons too, or just daughters?
It's two daughters. Two daughters.
So,
Yeah.
I like that you brought that up, because I feel like we've done a real, like, especially over the course of my lifetime. I'm 27. I'm a little bit older than the young men we're talking about here, right? And especially over the course of my lifetime, I definitely saw a shift in the way that young girls were parented, were taught. You know, very recently, before my time, it was, you know, you're trying to become a housewife, probably, if you're a young girl, and that's what you're taught. You're given dolls, you're, you know, given a kitchen set, and that's what you're supposed to play with. And we've done a really good job of fixing that problem. We've done a really good job of teaching young girls, hey, you can do whatever you want to do. We've done a good job correcting the patriarchy on the female side. But on the male side, I think we've completely failed still. Because the reason that men have this knee-jerk, you know, what are you talking about reaction, and the reason a lot of men have bad toxic masculine reactions, especially in conservative circles, is because they're insecure. It's their insecurities coming out and being defensive and lashing out. And we have really failed to put the effort in with young boys in unlearning patriarchal norms that we have with young girls. I think most young girls no longer think that they have to go be a housewife, that that's their destiny. But not many young boys are being taught how to express their emotions, how to communicate their emotions. I know this was something that I wasn't taught diddly shit about, and I had to teach myself. And by teach myself, I mean have girls that I dated teach me how to communicate my feelings in a healthy way. And that doesn't mean to say I was being a total asshole to women. I was trying my best, but oftentimes I would end up being an asshole, not in like a dangerous way, but just in a jerky way, because I didn't know how to communicate my emotions. No one ever fucking taught me. And so when you have these young boys who aren't taught how to do these things, and they're just having these women tell them they'd rather be in the woods with a bear than them, you know what? At a certain point, it's hard to blame them for growing up and having these insecurities because no one's teaching them how to fix them. So I do think, in the vein of taking personal responsibility, I think that's something that we as a society can do a better job of starting teaching young men these, principles when they're young, the same way we did with women, we can do with men too. And I think that's where this all starts and where it ends eventually. What do you think, TJ?
Well, I agree. I'm curious to think we want to cut this one here because this is 25 minutes and right. That's a long. But yeah, so all right, but I'm going to continue on this vein though. I still want to break this to a different one. So what I want to discuss here is a lot what John's talking about in how we raise boys and what we teach them, and how patriarchy, everyone loses. A small percentage of people don't lose, but most of society does. And this is something too, there is one thing that I don't like people saying when they talk about, well, men, you guys are complaining about, this world. Well, who built it? It's like, okay, well, the 14-year-old boy, he did not build this world. I'm sorry, he was born into the system just like you were. And it kind of sucks. So we need to teach people how to dismantle this and how to fight it. And what John said was completely correct in that how we train boys, it's, how these guys will always talk about, most men are good. Most men are fine. It's perfectly okay. And then you ask them, do you want to have a daughter? Like, no, I don't want to have a daughter. Well, wait a minute. Why not? That's odd. If 99% of men are as angelic as you claim, you shouldn't be worried about having a daughter, or unless you're lying about, how exemplary these men are. And the truth is, in our society, remember when we would always shit on China for their one-child policy and they were picking boys and not girls? Like, oh, they just value their boys more. So do we. So do we. And you can see it in a lot of ways. Like, well, John, I was writing some down here in that being a boy is just better than being a girl. That's kind of understood. And even in the way we pick out our names. So you ever run across a joke I used to tell is about, you ever run across a girl that has a boy's name? And a joke I said, if it's a cute girl and she has a name like Charlie, it actually makes her more endearing. Like, oh, that's cool, and everything. But it doesn't work the other way. Like a boy with a girl's name, it's like it just turns people off right away. And this happens with names over the years. Like the name Robin is a girl's name. It used to be a boy's name, like Robin Williams. Like that wasn't a weird name for a boy back in the day. But when girls started using it, men stopped using it. This happened with Robin, with Ashley, with Kelly, a lot of names like that. And even clothing. Girls can wear pants. Boys cannot wear dresses. That's just not how it works. Women can step up to be men, but boys can't the other way. And even with when you're shopping, when you go into a clothing store, I've noticed this when I was a teenager. If you go to a clothing store, the men's clothes are usually there earlier than the women's clothes. If you caught it the right way, because they don't want to turn away the men with the women's clothes. And crying is another one too. Women are allowed to cry, men are not. And I thought about this a while ago. I hurt my neck. And I don't know if I told you the story, John, but I had to do this physical therapy. And in my physical therapy, I had this exercise where I had to get on all fours and arch my ass in the air and bend my chest to the ground, basically in a twerking motion. And while I was doing it, I was like, this is something a woman would do. But it wasn't just that, oh, this is a female motion. I'm actually degrading myself by acting in a way. And it hit me really hard. That I was like, that was some misogyny that I had held deep down. But like, just doing something that's like tangentially associated with women made me feel worse. And like, that's why it bothers me too when people pretend that these, well, I don't see color, I don't see sex and gender, I don't have this. Like, and look, yes, you do. But even if you didn't, let's just assume you didn't. Everyone else does. And pretending that this doesn't exist is complete bullshit. I don't know if you ever run across this, Coach, in your time.
Yeah, no, I think it's always funny to me when that happens, because as Black people, especially, as a Black man who's been in academic social circles and stuff, a lot of those people love to pretend that, they don't see color, but then they're quick to point out how like you're articulate, or man, you're not like them, or whatever, man, it must be hard being around all those Black people when you don't sound like them. And what I mean? So yeah, I've seen and heard that very often. And I think something else though you were talking about, I think another thing is the way that we sensationalize sex. Like with men, have all the sex you want to have. With women, I remember for a minute there was and these are probably TikToks I usually scroll by real quick because I'm not in that age group, but there was this whole conversation about like body counts for men and women.
Yeah.
Women's body count was high. It was like really bad, but the man's body count could be high and all this, and like I still hear dudes saying stuff like that. I have like one single friend, and so when I say dudes, I mean a dude, like these types of things, and I'm just like, dude, come on, So yeah, there's a lot of that. There's just a lot of the male dominance of our culture is just it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
It is. I like that you brought up sex there, because sex is another great example of what TJ was talking about. It's hot when a girl, experiments with another girl. But
good one.
But yeah, a guy, if a guy experiments with another guy, he's just gay. You're
gay
forever. You can't be you're gay. But a girl, most girls I know have kissed a girl, at some point in my life. And I'm pretty sure more guys than will say they have kissed a guy. But like, my God, the answer is no. I always say like the easiest way to tell like how insecure someone is about their sexuality is just ask them how much money it would take to suck a dick, like if they're a guy. And it's just like if they say anything over like $10,000, it's like, no, you're obviously very insecure about this, because that's the easiest $10,000 you've ever made, bro. I don't care how rich you are. But
here.
Go ahead. What was that, Coach?
I said maybe I'm insecure, but I don't know if 10,000. It's got to be life changing.
10,000 cash, Coach, on the table in front of you. 10,000.
Coach is a married man, John. He's not doing anything.
Your wife is okay with this. In fact, it's turning your wife on. She wants to watch. And $10,000 cash goes straight to your daughter's college fund. You got to suck one dick. You got to suck one dick, Coach.
This is the first time we've had an indecent proposal on this show. This is not a common occurrence, Coach. Don't get scared off.
But it's okay. Like it is. Like I also would be like, I don't want to suck that dick, and like it's insecurity. Like at the end of the day, I'm just like, it's a dick. Like it's like it's not gonna hurt me. I know my left brain knows I'm good. I'm gonna survive this blowjob. But my right brain is like hesitant about it, So it is very much, and it's fine to like be insecure about it as long as you admit that that's not just like it won't make you gay. It won't change. I mean, maybe it will. Maybe you'll like it. But
maybe it will. Maybe it will. This is. Oh my God. I feel. Go ahead, Coach.
I was just saying, I was on here trying not to say the word rape earlier, and then this guy goes with how much would it cost?
I know, right? Oh. Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's like he comes. What I'm gathering here is John needs to take out a loan for $10,000, and he's trying to find a quick way to get it done. So that's what I.
Yo, guys, I'm just saying, we have gifts open.
Super chats are ready to go, but no. So with the sex thing too. This is damaging to men in a lot of things that guys can't seem to figure out is that patriarchy is damaging to men too. It's not just damaging to women. Men benefit from it more, but it also damages more men than it helps. Mm-hmm. And the over-sexualization, oddly enough, of men too works in that men are portrayed as these insatiable sexual machines that have no agency of their own outside of their base instincts to procreate by any means necessary. And when I can't remember what one of you were talking about men bragging about body counts too, where they turn into like these obvious liars about their sexual prowess. My favorite one, especially as I got older, was guys who was like, man, I can go all night. No, bro, why? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what the hell are you talking? You're talking about you're having penetrative intercourse hours and hours. That's insanity. Like, that sounds like a horrible time. No one on earth would experience that and enjoy it. So I know you're lying. And it's just they make obvious fools out of themselves just to fulfill this fantasy that they saw in some 1975 movie, where the guy was the cool cat and everything. No, this is complete nonsense. And it builds up this wild expectation too. So we were talking about like why Coach mentioned Andrew Tate earlier, and that these guys, they run across, their teens, their puberty, whatever. And men are never taught how to talk to women. Like, some guys just good at it naturally. Some guys just have the growth. Most guys don't. Most guys don't have it. And you have to work on it. You have to work on your confidence. And no one's there to teach you. You got to figure it out yourself. And the guys who do figure it out use the fact that they're rare to their advantage to just take advantage of women. That's just how this shit works. Mm-hmm. And so the guys who don't know what's going on, they graduate from high school, they go to college, or, they work, and they don't have any success, trying to talk to women. They feel scared. They feel insular. Our society is becoming more and more atomized. More and more people are talking through screens instead of talking to each other face to face. They lose practice. They get on dating apps. And look, most guys aren't particularly good looking. They're not all that clever or interesting or funny. They're average, and you're not going to stand out in a dating app, And so then they're on dating apps 6 months. No one messages them. They fall deeper into depression, and they're like, well, what am I doing wrong? I'm trying to do everything right. No one will date me. And then, Andrew Tate comes along saying women are the problem. Like, they're the ones who are dragging society down. By the way, you wonder why you make shit wages at your job? It's because women entered the workforce after World War II, which increased the supply of workers, which made the capitalists decrease your money. If women would just stay home, you'd make more. And so then they start building these wild conspiracies about how women are actually causing the downfall of society. And those are the ones that are like slowing the progress of men. Also, this is where women go to college more than men do. So women are becoming more educated. Their health is getting better. Men are declining in all those areas. And when you start, the less educated you are, the more conservative you become. So it's kind of this self-fulfilling prophecy that happens because young men are being, they're like self-selecting their way out of a prosperous society. And we're all suffering for it, honestly.
And it's funny, TJ, because you mentioned earlier, it's actually quite easy, like to talk to women, to like get a girl to like you and talk to you and eventually hopefully sleep with you. It's way easier than all of these fucking like alpha male influencers are telling you. They'll tell you that you got to be rich and have a six-pack because that's the only way they can get women, because they're actually terrible at getting women. Let me tell you the things that like a girl recently told me like attracted me about her. I'm an average looking 5'6" man. I was not gifted with Adonis body or anything, and I'm not even particularly good at flirting or anything. But what she told me, I'm well groomed. I just fucking trim up my beard. I don't look like a slob. I wore deodorant that day. I listened to her when she talked and asked her questions about her life. And those two things was basically it. That's what got her to talk to me. That was the foot in the door, and that's what was needed. It is not that hard. If you it seems like the dumbest fucking thing, but trust me, if you just treat women the way you want to be treated and have
crazy, right?
Basic
treat them like
hygiene, you'll be successful. And treat it with respect, and be willing to hear no and hear no often and respect that no. Because people are like, oh, you can't like compliment a woman anymore. Sure you can. I compliment women all the time, whether I'm hitting on them or not. It's like I have girlfriends who I don't want to sleep with, who I'll be like, no, you look hot today. Totally fine. It's acceptable because they understand I'm not trying to get in their pants. But if you're trying to get in their pants and being deceptive about it, they can tell, just like you can fucking tell. So just don't, be honest. It's really this easy. You will get a lot of no's, but as long as you respect them, it won't hurt anyone. And it's only your insecurity that's stopping you from doing that.
agree.
With that, it's also just how you deal with people in your day-to-day life. It's like the overlap is very simple. It's a lot of people are afraid to talk to people in general. Like they don't like say hi to people on the sidewalk. Like that thought terrifies them. So, and like John said, you got to be willing to accept no's in life, or you can't be scared to get a no. That's what it comes from, is that, and that's with everything in life, honestly. You can't live your life just in fear. So, all right, a lot of guys, I can't remember which one of you said this, where guys will talk about how, you can't. Oh, John he just said it, where you can't even compliment women anymore, or you can't, ask. No, I was like, okay, listen. The reason you see this, where because they'll watch these TikToks too, where women say, I don't ever want to be approached ever, and the guys will be like, well, then how's anyone gonna date? How's this gonna happen? And it's like what Coach says. Just listen to what women are saying, because I guarantee you have never seen one video where a woman says, you know what, this guy came up to me, he introduced himself, he asked for my number. I turned him down, and he handled it in a calm, respectful way and told me have a good day. No one's ever complained about that. That has never happened. Like, you will never hear anyone say, hey, I had a basic human interaction and I didn't feel uncomfortable. I didn't feel pressured. I didn't feel pushed or anything like that. I didn't feel, unsafe. And it was a good experience. No one complains about that. If you just act like that with everyone, not just in trying to get dates or anything, but do it at work, do it at school, do it with people you don't even know. Just talk to people all the time, and you're going to get better.
Say thank you. Say thank you. You get off the bus, thank your bus driver. It actually does really help your life.
It does.
It's like a lubricant. It just makes everything else easier.
Yeah, and the grooming thing. So I saw another thing where you know how guys complain about how they don't get compliments, and everything's like, well, I get compliments all the time. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I'm drowning in compliments. Oh, maybe that's a you problem, but you don't need. And John is 1,000% correct. So women get more compliments for two reasons. One, because guys are trying to get with them. That's a way they try to do it. And two, because women actually put effort into how they look. Like, women put a lot of effort in. I probably put in more effort than most guys, and it's still a moderate amount of effort. It's not a ton. It's not a ton. Like, keeping your facial hair groomed, your hair brushed, wash your face, just wear clothes that fit. It's not a whole lot of work, and people will compliment you for it, especially if they know you're not a creep. It's not that difficult. Now, it does get weird, like when Coach D says, like, some compliments I don't take particularly well, where it's oh, you speak so well. Oh my God, that's
a whole other video, TJ.
That is so. You are so articulate. Where did you grow up? How did you speak? I was like, okay, all right, this is just pretty obnoxious. So I was glad Coach brought that up, because that is frustrating to hear that shit. It's like, here's one that can talk. Look at this. This is amazing. But yeah. So what do you think about all that, Coach?
No, I get I've always said, hey, if I've never had an interview where I didn't get the job. Like, never in my life have I had an interview where I didn't get the job. And I it's not that I don't think I'm smart. I think I'm smart. I think I'm, whatever, right? But I do realize that there's people lower the bar, kind of how I said at the beginning of this. Right?
Yep.
I've been on committees at the school, right? So not only am I'm a health professor. So first of all, I'm not math, English, science or anything like that. So I'm on a committee, and I show up, in like a Nike tee, and like I'm always right after practice. Where math, science, and English, they're in suits and all that. The minute I raise my hand to speak, they lower the bar so low. I mean, I have to, because the second I start speaking, it's like, whoa,
yeah,
what the? Holy crap. Like, one time in a meeting, this dude, a math teacher, stands up and he says, I want to agree with what did he? I think he said jock boy over there.
No, yeah. Jock boy, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and I said, hey, excuse me, but I have a master's degree in my field, just like you. Like, don't, I know I show up in this and everything, but they do. And so, like, anytime I've been in an interview, I go to an interview for a job, I swear, it's especially on a panel. It's so funny. You're on a panel. The women are just like, wow, like, wow, and the guys are like trying to figure out like where the bullshit's coming from, because they're like, this guy can't be this good, so I agree, man. I think so. I always tell my friends, I am not going to feel bad that people are offering me more jobs or whatever because they didn't think I was gonna that I reached walking into that room. Like, that's on them. But I do get a little bit frustrated with hearing the wow and all of that type of stuff too. And I was also going to say, in contrast to you saying the way that men compliment women and women compliment men. So I have 2 daughters. They both run track. So in the summers, oftentimes I'll take my daughters and any other girls who want to come and run with them, and we go and run this overpass. We don't have hills in my area, so we run an overpass. And typically, men are approaching, they come up the overpass and then they're coming down the overpass. And usually I'm at the bottom of the overpass waiting for them to come down so I can time them. Sometimes I'll run with them, whatever. That nothing to do with the story, but just want to say I do run also. Bottom of the hill waiting for them. The amount of times men come up that hill, see them, and almost run into something and yell stuff, vulgar stuff. Like, you don't know how many times I've had to throw my hands up at dudes and like yell, like, shut the heck up and everything. Like, my wife jogs, like she's done half marathons and all that. I mean, every time she comes home, there's a story of, I swear this guy like was following me. I swear this guy, I saw the car, and then 3 blocks later I saw the car, and then this and that, or this guy yelled at me, or a guy pulled up, a block away and waited for her to come. Like this. And so back to the men versus women thing. To pretend, if you've ever been around, like if you've ever been, and I'm around my daughters who are now college athletes, and now they're college friends. So before, it was when they were in high school, like junior high school, and they would get the grossest things yelled at them. Mm-hmm. Now I'm with them in college. It's just as bad. So the pretend that you have never been around this, never seen this, is absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And again, we will be way better as a society once men just decide to like admit that shit,
Mm-hmm. One thing I want to add real quick to what Coach just said there was an eye-opening moment for me was when I saw like a post or something like back in the Facebook days, and it said, if you ever really want to understand like the dichotomy of the existence between men and women, ask your female friends, when was the first time they were sexually harassed by a man? And they will all tell you like 11, 12. I mean, like, it is staggering. I don't think I met anyone who said, oh yeah, 16. No, it was always like junior high school, like the day after puberty, grown men are like, flirting with them and taunting them and harassing them. It is sick, disgusting shit. So yeah, we talk about like the experience of being in a position of lack of power, and so there's ways that we can take advantage, like Coach was talking about with the way we speak or something like that. I've usually get out of tickets. That's how it usually works for me. When I was young, I got pulled over all the time. I mean, I felt like I got pulled over like once a month. I never got a ticket though. I never got tickets because I know what happened. They was like, oh my God, well, we're sorry to bother you, sir. It's like, we didn't expect this. And so it's just like the reality, like, it's one way that I try to relate to it, in that, I can't possibly understand what it's like to be a woman and walking out the door knowing that there are millions of people in this city who are 3 times stronger than me, who could kill me with their bare hands, and I have to just walk amongst them. But I do know what it's like to be, in a minority position, as an African American, and trying to navigate life that way. I'm curious to know what John would like to add to this conversation here about
he always likes it whenever we have a black guest on. TJ's like, we're talking about a racial thing. Hey John, I'd like to hear your opinion. The only thing I will add is the other question, if you ever on a date with a girl, I guarantee you, if it's the first day, I remember like I was like seeing my current fiance, like I was seeing her regularly at this point, and at one point I saw her. She sent like her Snap location to like her friend group chat, and I was like, "Are they joining us?" And she was like, "No, I just do this." And I was like, "Are you like scared of me?" And she's like, "No, it's just kind of habit at this point. I do it every time I go on a date." And it's like, yeah, they are sending their location to their friends in case that you are going to kill them. The fact that they're going on a date with you and risking their lives should be taken as the greatest compliment.
It is.
Like, because that happens. It does. You cannot deny that it happens. There is legitimate fear, and it's not about you. It's just us, and we all individually need to do a better job of holding each other accountable. And once teenage girls stop getting catcalled by grown-ass men, and they might stop feeling like they need to share their snap location, and maybe, just maybe, they'd rather go on a hike with you in the woods than a bear. That's what needs to happen.
That was a good ending on it. I wanted to make two comments on real quick for Coach. Coach's time's almost up, but that's one reason where people ask, like, who should pay for the date? The man pays the date. She's the one risking her life. You pay for the fucking date. That's how I put it. Like, whenever you go on a date with Brock Lesnar, he'll pay the bill. Okay, like because you're the one risking your life there. And second, I'm trying to think when she snaps her location to her friends, and John, like, your friend John thought he was gonna have a really good date. It's like your friend's gonna be showing, because John's like, oh well. This is, I guess I left a pretty good impression after all. I don't know. That cracked me up here. But oh god, I feel so bad we didn't get to the 10 Commandments one, Coach. I wanted to get do you have any like quick fire thoughts on that then?
Yeah, Louis. I'm from Louisiana, man, and I grew up. We've talked about this before. I grew up in the church, all that, and I'm just getting. I try my best not to have any type of like really, really bad thoughts about Christianity and everything like that. But the fact that this is happening just goes to tell you more about how they want to impose their beliefs on everyone else. Like imagine thinking, because they could have easily said, hey, we should put a list of rules up in the classroom. There should be some rules, because who would be against that? Hey, don't hit other people. Don't steal anyone's things. Like, some of the commandments, we all follow them anyway, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't even know what they all are, but I'm sure I follow all of them. But like, I mean, I think there's some that aren't even like.
There's a bunch you don't follow, I guarantee. Most of them are useless. Yeah.
I know TJ is our resident freaking religious scholar. So, but no, like, you could have easily said, I think in every classroom there better be a set of rules that says don't hit, don't steal, don't grab your teacher's butt, or whatever you want to put on there. But the fact that you decided it had to be the 10 Commandments, and this. TJ, you brought up something way earlier about gender and stuff, right? And I had a guy who, during when Pride Month first started, my city, which is a very small conservative town, decided to erect a pride flag, right? They decided to lift the pride flag and say, hey, man, Antigua, our city, we are we're inclusive or whatever, right? And so people were like, oh, these people get a month and veterans only get a day. And we've already talked about that, right? But this guy, I was like, you know what? I got time today. So I went in on people. And something people don't like to do is engage with me, because I'm pretty known in my town. I've been there for years. My daughters are known. My wife's a teacher. We're known. And so when I engage someone, they know like it's about to get real. So I engaged a couple of people. A couple of people tried to step back. I went in on them. And then after I go in on someone once or twice, I start getting DMs, because they don't want the public discourse anymore, because they're like, shit, this guy's giving it to me, right? So I get a DM from this guy, and he's trying to ease things over with me, right? He's like, it's my faith and blah, blah. And so one thing he brought up was that I just believe that God doesn't make mistakes, and there's men and women, period. And I said, what about intersex people? Mm-hmm. Like, those people exist. Do you just ignore, like,
are those a mistake?
Yeah, is like 2 to 3% of the population possibly. Like, do you ignore that? Because and like, after we went back and forth through about 5 DMs. And when I said that, and I pointed out Caster Semenya, who was an 800-meter runner for, I think, South Africa, who was stripped of some of her medals, or told, like, you can't run because your testosterone levels are too high, even though we realized you were born intersex or whatever. I said, this is something that actually happened to someone. How do you reconcile with this idea that God doesn't make mistakes, and there's only men and women, Yet here we have 3% of the population that don't fit into that binary category that you're trying to put them in. How do you reconcile with them? What do you guys want to guess he said?
That doesn't count.
Almost. He said nothing. He stopped talking to me.
He stopped. He didn't even say that doesn't count.
Didn't even want to question his faith. Couldn't. Because I think at that point he was probably like, this guy's starting to make me question things that I don't get to question because I believe in Christianity and that's what I do. And what pisses me off about it is that all this does is you should question it. And for you to think that you should be able to put your religious rules in every damn classroom because it's what you believe. And there's no damn way that you would allow a Muslim to put their religious rules in every classroom. Because if it's just about the rules and how we should know the rules. And I'm reading the article about that, and the governor or whoever signed off on it. He's like, if we're gonna be a law and order, we got to start with the first laws that were given to Moses. And I'm just like, I just freaking hit me over the head with a freaking broom because I try my best not to say mean things, not to question these people, but I'm getting to a point now where I'm just gonna start just blurting out shit to Christians, like when they say stuff like "you're blessed." No, I'm not. Like I just start like I'm just because no one ever hides their Christianity to me. No one is ever like, you're not Christian, or I'm not going to say that because I don't know what you're like. You know, if I say, oh, my daughter ran fast this weekend. Wow, you guys are so blessed. God blessed her with this talent, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't ever go up to people and say, oh, the devil blessed me, or whatever I want to say, or hey, hey, Demetrius, you want to come to our church? No, but I'm having this atheist thing at my house. You want to come? They would get completely offended by that. So, I mean, I think we put up with a lot, as whatever we are, atheist, agnostic, whatever you want to call us. But it drives me crazy. It pisses me off in principle more than anything, because at the end of the day, do I care if there's a set of rules on a wall? I want my daughters to go by rules and all that. I care that you're saying our religious beliefs are more important than your lack of religious beliefs and anyone else's religious beliefs. And I'm like, I just want to start saying F you to everybody who disagrees with that stuff. I really do. And it's starting to make me like, I have some very good Christian friends, It's starting to make me resent some of them too. And I'm like, it's not really their fault, but it's like, but you go into these places every Sunday too, and you sit there and then you come and I don't know, man. I better stop because I really do start getting.
We're there. We're there.
You are preaching to the definitely not choir.
Well, they're running cover for these folks. That's what bugs me. It's like, you may not be one of them, but you're enabling them. And just
like we said with the men, it's like, okay, you might not be one of the men
who are making
women feel dangerous, but I guarantee you that you know a guy who is, and you aren't calling him out. And it's the same thing with the religious people. It's like, if you're religious, that's fine. All power to you. You can go be religious. I think it's kind of dumb, but you go do you. I do a lot of dumb shit too. But if you see this and you're like not calling that out, if you're going, this is wrong. We should not be putting in every classroom, thou shalt have no other God before me. Clear violation of the most crystal clear violation of the First Amendment you can possibly have. And if you aren't calling them out, and if you're voting for the representatives who do this, well, you're one of the bad ones too. I hate to break it.
Agree. All right. I think, Coach, you got to take off, my friend.
Yeah, man.
I'm sorry. Well, hey, go ahead.
I'm just saying, we got to do this again, man. You guys were great.
Where can the folks find your content real quick? Yeah. You want to plug your...
Oh, yeah, that's right. We should do the outro. Cool. I'm going to do a little intro. I'm going to throw to you. You're going to say, hey, you can find me here. And then TJ's going to take over. All right, guys. Thank you for watching the show today. We got to talk a lot about masculinity and gender issues. And, you would think we're every other leftist podcast now. But no, it was great. It was great. If you guys liked what Coach D had to say, how about you tell our audience where they can find you?
Everywhere on TikTok at Coach D _speaks, on YouTube at Coach D _speaks, on Instagram at Coach D _speaks, and on X at Coach D _speaks. So yeah, I appreciate the follow and everything, and I appreciate you guys having me on. It was great. definitely.
No problem. Thanks so much, Coach. If you want more advice on how to be the most manly man imaginable, follow 3 of us. We'll take care of you. Catch you later. All right. Thanks so much, Coach.
Ben, don't go anywhere. Only Coach is leaving. We got some more topics. Bye, Coach.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
I've always wanted to do more of that kind of content. It's just every time I do, it doesn't get any views.
Really? So you know what? That's so funny because I love that content as well. Mm-hmm. I think it's because we've kind of like built our brands on other shit. And so, you know, the algorithm rewards kind of the same thing over and over again. I think if you just got to get the running start on it and then it'll start, you know, but it takes time and everything. But I want to be as an adult, like the kind of man that I could have used as a young man talking about these issues, because you're not going to find a lot of them, you know, because like most men aren't trained up to be this way and think this way. And so I do appreciate whenever I get comments from, you know, like high school kids or college kids, and they're asking about, you know, being a man and everything. And I get to be Uncle TJ. And I was like, okay, I like this. It's kind of fun. And here's some lessons I had to learn, you know, that hopefully you can avoid these traps. I did a whole video on setting up the perfect first date. I don't know if I ever told you about that one. I don't think I've seen it. So I've been on many first dates over the years, and I finally figured out like the code on how to build the perfect first date. And essentially, this for me at least, the perfect first date will be usually on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. That's when the time for it. And it'll be somewhere very casual, like a cafe, you know, a coffee shop, something like that. And you meet, you talk, and you put a hard time limit on this date, like an hour. 45 minutes to an hour is about what you want to do. And the reason that you want to put a hard time limit on the date is that if a girl doesn't like you after 45 minutes, she's probably not going to like you after an hour and a half. Like that is very difficult to change your mind. However, she can like you at an hour. But an hour and a half, she may not like you anymore. You can turn that ship around real fast, because a lot of guys talk themselves out of second dates. Like they're talking to her and everything, and she's like, "Oh, this guy's pretty cool," and then he runs his fucking mouth for another hour. She's like, "Oh, all right. Turns out this guy isn't as cool as I thought." And so you keep it. And also, this is the most important part: is that whenever you ask her on the date, like say you talk to her on Tuesday and you set up the date for Sunday. Don't talk a lot between Tuesday and Sunday. Don't send a ton of texts and calls, because you want that first date to actually be an organic experience where you learn something, where you don't want to be walking in knowing half her life already. Like you want something to talk about. And that bleeds into the short time frame for the date, that if you talk for 45 minutes and she likes you, she'll want to know more about you, which gets you a second date. And so after the date is over, I don't recommend trying to go in for a kiss or something like that on your first date. You know, like not usually at least, but you know, and you're like, well, did she have a good time? She will tell you. Like you go home, she will send you a text, and the text will say, "Hey, it was really great seeing you today. I'd love to do it again sometime." That's your cue to ask her for a second date. Don't ask her for a second date during the first date, because sure, she might say yes, but she may not want to. And it'll be this weird, awkward time because that actually happened to me once. Where I went on a first date and I was not feeling it. And the girl was, and she's like, "Oh, hey, they're building a Top Golf here in Indianapolis. It'd be pretty cool to go sometime." And I didn't know what Top Golf was at the time, it was years ago. And she told me, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds cool." She's like, "Oh, would you want to go there?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I didn't want to. And so, yeah, we'll talk about it. And then, like, a few days later, she texted me. She's like, "I guess we're not going to Top Golf, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "God, I wish I'd have just said no, but I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't." And it was hard.
It's hard. It's genuinely hard. Yeah.
Yes. And so it's going to be a lot harder for her to do it. You don't want to put that pressure on her. And so then after she tells you she enjoys the date, then you ask, and she doesn't text you, she didn't like the date. So just leave it alone. Like you've only lost 45 minutes. Enjoy the rest of your day. Now, second date is all on you guys. That's you got to rely on your own charisma and charm and everything like that. But I can say I get a second date, but that works pretty much every single time. Hold on.
Yeah, Ben, we've constructed this whole episode for you and giving you dating advice as you head off into the world.
Let's see. I don't know actually. What did he say? If we become openly Marxist in the second half, it would probably won't go.
Honestly, like TJ, I don't know if you've ever if you're in this community long enough, and I think I've spoken with you about this, you often meet people in public where you kind of flirt with it. Like you won't ever come out and say, "Yo, are you a socialist?" Like that's just a very weird question to ask. But you hear them go, "Oh yeah, man, the boss is really screwing us over. We need to get together. I need to get all my coworkers together and collectively bargain for this." I'm like, "Yeah, man, yeah, it'd be pretty good if you could all get healthcare. I mean, I wish the government provided that." And then, you don't say it, but eventually you come to this understanding. Okay, we both lean the same way. Flirting is the same fucking thing. You don't go out and say, "Yo, you want to go?"
Good point. Good point.
No, you don't do that. You go like, "Oh, by the way, those pants are fucking great. Your ass looks great." You give a compliment that their girlfriends would give them, and their response will tell you whether they want you to keep laying it on. And it just goes like that. So if you know how to discover if someone's a socialist like you, you also know how to discover if a girl wants to sleep with you. It's the same fucking techniques.
Yeah, and guys, get better at reading social cues. Just
get good, guys.
Just get good at it. And here's the thing. You're not going to get good at it unless you try. This is also another thing too.
You have to fail time.
You have to fail. This is guys want to be able to be good at this without failing. And that's not how literally anything works. Sometimes you're just born good at something. Most things you're not. Just think of it that way, and they're afraid to, and listen, this is another legitimate fear. Now it is legitimate fear because some people are very bad at reading social cues. They just don't know how to do it. So you could accidentally come off creepy. You could. It's happened to all of us. It happened. You may not mean to, but you might. But here's what you do. If you can't, once again, do your best not to be creepy, obviously. But in the event that you are, learn from it. That's all you can do. That's part of being a human being, that your words might be misconstrued, your voice inflection, your eyes, the way you're standing, any one of those things could give off a vibe that you weren't going for. Then you just correct for it. You don't get butthurt and offended. It's well, I'm actually a good guy. No, shut the fuck up. Learn from your mistake and move on. That's the only way you'll get better. You can't just be so insular and so sensitive whenever someone says, "No, I don't like that." And the more you talk to people, the more you get to know them, the better you'll get it. You'll figure out, okay, doing this gets this reaction, I'll do it less. Doing this gets this reaction, I'll do it more. And like we mentioned earlier, you can't make I need to get a girlfriend, a laser focus. It's freaky. Mm-hmm. It's creepy. People will notice that, and you'll come off as desperate. Just work on. This is what I hate about the red pill guys, that 35% of what they say is actually really good advice. I hate that. I fucking hate it, because
every once in a while they come across a nut and you're just fuck.
Because what they say, what they'll tell these guys, it starts off completely accurate. Look, you can't make, getting a girlfriend the primary goal in your life. You can't do that. You need to work on yourself. You need to do something that makes you proud to be you. If that means going to the gym, if that means going for walks, if that means eating better, if that means, it almost certainly means, don't spend all weekend in your room playing video games and watching porn. That will definitely not benefit you in life. So just do something, get out in the sun, do something, get a hobby, do something that makes you happy, and you will be happier, and talk to people. And you start doing that, your social life will get better, your work life will get better, your school life will get better, your romantic life will get better. They're completely right there. Everything after that is where it goes off the cliff. Just trying to better yourself is absolutely true. Sorry about Wolfie yelling there.
We've made a little episode here. We should label it, dating tips for leftists, for leftist men. But the other thing I wanted to say is that Coach brought it up, where he was the lock and key thing, the body count thing.
Yeah.
And I've always answered like that. I've been okay, you are picking teams. You got to pick up basketball game. You're picking between two guys. One of them says that they've played basketball 3 times in their life, and the other guy's like, "Oh no, I play basketball every weekend. Whoever wants to come, I have a good time. Whatever." Who are you picking for your basketball team? Who do you think is going to be better at basketball? I bet you it's not the guy who's played basketball 3 times in his life. Well, why the fuck would you want to fuck a girl who's only had sex 3 times in her life? Like, well, how is that? That doesn't make any fucking sense. They're gonna be worse at it, like everything else in life. Like, what the fuck?
It's another one of those like things that you're told. Yeah,
It's also insecurity that you can't live up. But you're right. I think people just think that because they're told, and they're like, oh,
they're told that. Yeah. Because look, and like. And it's like, I don't know why I'm even entertaining this. Like, I'm trying to steel man this when it's absurd, you know? It's like, well, what if someone slept with 10,000 people? Okay, all right, no, that's weird. Okay, that's kind of odd.
That's a red flag because it's like, okay, you're devoting way too much of your time.
Something strange, but that you're not going to run across that
male female. That's just way too much time spent on that activity.
Exactly. Don't you work? How do you eat? How do you live? But no, it's like they're told this. It's like, oh, you want yourself a virgin because of hundreds of years of patriarchal stuff where men wanted to protect their bloodlines, and that's passed down through generation where people are set to value that. It's like, no, it doesn't make any sense at all. And you're right, like practically. That I don't know. It's just it's fucked up how people think this way. But I just hate to see young men led astray, and it's so easy. Do you know who F.D. Salinger is? Have you ever seen him on YouTube?
F.D. Salinger, as opposed to J.D. Salinger.
Not J.D. Salinger. No, not the author. Not
You're telling me there's a Mr. and Mrs. Salinger out there? My son F.D.
No. F.D. Salinger is a YouTuber, and. He does mostly black issues, and but he also does a lot of like men's issues. Mm-hmm. And he has a whole video on, maybe 2 videos on red pill content. He does a really good deep dive into this. And I found out something watching the video that I didn't know. I mean, it makes sense now that most red pill content is actually just like teenage boys, which does make sense, you know, because they're the ones who are the most insecure. And if you watch the trends of it, they tend to all grow out of it by like their mid-20s. And so like Andrew Tate is preaching to all these 14-year-olds. And then, by the time they get to college and everything and they develop actual social skills, they outgrow the red pill stuff, which makes it really cringy when I see like a 30-year-old red pill, like, oh, bro, this is embarrassing, man. That's kind of sad.
A narrator pointed out that you mean FD signifier, and I looked it up.
Oh, shit.
Right.
You know what? It's signifier. You're right.
I also haven't seen him, but yeah.
Okay. I've always read it as Salinger, but because I'm thinking of JD Salinger too. That's funny.
TJ, one of these days we will have the young men advice, nerd and sports talk that we've always wanted to have. One day we'll have it.
Did you grow?
I can stop researching fucking the rates at which the media covers fucking black mass shooters versus white mass shooters, and I can talk fucking sports and getting laid. That sounds much better.
I always wanted a radio show growing up. I always wanted a radio. I've always wanted that. It's just kind of been there. But it says sports. I don't watch sports nearly as much as I used to. But like men's issues and nerd shit, yeah, I'm all for it. I wanted to add something with something we talked about 20 minutes ago now, but. We actually did an intro into the 10 Commandments stuff. I just want to coach these thoughts on real quick. But for those, we may like Frankenstein these together. I don't know. But so Louisiana just passed a law saying that the 10 Commandments have to be displayed in every classroom. Like not just the 10 Commandments statue like in front of the school. Every fucking classroom has to have a copy of the 10 Commandments. And Coach D was talking about how, I'm sure I follow most 10 Commandments. No, probably not. The 10 Commandments, because like the first 4 are all about how to worship God. They're all about, like John said, don't have gods before me. Don't make idols. Don't make graven images. Keep the Sabbath holy. Just shit that no one gives a fuck about. But what's interesting is that there's actually 2 copies of the 10 Commandments in the Bible. There's the one that everyone knows, but that's the copy that Moses like broke into pieces, and he had to go back to the mountain and get another copy. But this copy was different. Like for some reason, God actually gave him. Do you hear Wolfie? He's yelling so fucking loud.
I don't hear him this time now.
Oh, good. All right, good. But this is the copy that Moses actually gave to the people. Destroy shrines of other faiths. Don't bow down or associate with people of other faiths. Don't make molten gods. Keep the Passover. Establish the firstborn for God. Keep the Sabbath. Keep the festival of Shabbat. Males must appear before God 3 times a year. no leavened bread in your possession. You must offer your first fruits. Do not boil a goat in its mother's milk. It says kid, but a kid is a baby goat for those of you who are wondering.
Yeah.
So
you know what? Don't boil a kid either.
either way.
We should lump that one in. I'm sure God will be okay with it.
The last one always makes you laugh out. Not to boil a goat in your mother's milk is such a weird thing. I don't even know why it would say that. But this list, ridiculous as it is, only slightly more ridiculous than the actual list of the 10 Commandments. That this is one of those, like, you know, when people were passing those abortion laws that were draconian shit, this is just one of these laws. It's one of these laws that's meant to get to the Supreme Court to kind of just like, you know, kick shit off the ground. But what the hell is wrong with the South, John? We talk about this all the time, but what is going on with the South?
It is the strangest thing to me, because like the type of conservative we deal with, we don't deal with too many. And when I say we, I'm saying like content creators. The type of conservative we deal with, you know, we have our dumbasses, but generally they're decently well versed in the rules and mechanics of debate. Yeah. And they would never, ever, ever, ever even think of suggesting something. Even if they actually believe that the 10 Commandments should be in every fucking classroom, they would never think of it because it's such a clear and obvious losing argument. It's so clear and obvious. Like, yeah, no, we shouldn't tell Muslims in school, Muslim kids in school that they shouldn't have any other God besides the Christian God. That's clearly bad. That's clearly an infringement on everyone's religious liberties, clearly an infringement on the parental rights of the non-Christian children in these schools. And it's just a dumb argument. And you know what? I think that a lot of times we paint Republicans and conservatives with this brush of, oh, you're fucking theocratic fascists that, you know, want all of these like terrible fucking Christian things. And it's like most of them aren't like that. Most conservatives and Republicans are normal people who would stand against something like this. They wouldn't want something like this. But you know, a hell of a lot of them won't stop it from happening. Like the ones who don't actively want it, well, you don't seem too upset about it, because I swear to fucking God, if Joe Biden made this about something that I wanted, I can't even think of what it would necessarily be, but it's like if it's something like that. If Joe Biden presented the fucking Pledge of Allegiance, right? And he was like, yeah, it wasn't a thing before, but we're going to make all the kids in schools do this now. I'd be like, fuck you, Joe. I don't want that. I don't care if Bernie Sanders did that. He would never, because it's ideologically inconsistent, but like, yeah, I'd be like, that is wrong. If my group of people is doing something that I support, they are wrong. And yet we don't see that. And we see Republicans continuing to push for more and more crazy theocratic laws like this that are blatant and obvious. If I saw this in a movie, I wouldn't believe it. Examples of Christofascism. And here we are. And it's happening. And no one seems to give a shit. And this will probably get struck down by whatever court strikes it down. But it's the fact that it's happening in the first place is fucking embarrassing.
Yeah, that's a good point about the fact that all conservatives are not the same, which I have a hard. You're right, because like with the dumbasses we deal with in social media, you're not going to run across something this ridiculous. You're not, because there's no good arguments for it other than just a blatant, yeah, I would actually like a Christo-fascist.
I would like Christo-fascist authoritarian.
Yeah,
state.
it's like that's.
At least it's logically consistent, TJ. I give them credit. At least, as you've said many times, the evangelicals are the most logically consistent. They're the worst, but at least I respect the hustle.
And so, like, you don't run across this because you don't run across this in social media because they know it's a losing argument. But like, I don't actually believe like the governor of Oklahoma like thinks this is a good idea, or, you know, he thinks this is important. It's a signifier, an FD signifier to, you know, his constituents that, you know, I am on the side of you fucking insane backwater religious groups. Like, they like it. They think it's cool. In fact, I am positive it was Oklahoma where the governor of Oklahoma released this video I saw on Twitter. And he's sitting in like a kid's classroom, like second, third grade kids. And he's sitting down and they're like arranged in a circle around him. And he's reading out of the Bible to these kids in the classroom. And he put it up on Twitter and is like, it's important to share the word of God with children. And of course, people were flaming him and everything. And I said, okay, that is absolutely against the rules. Like that, there's no doubt. Then people were comments like, well, it's probably a private school, so it's okay. But he wants to send the signal that, I want kids to learn the Bible and stuff. And Arizona did a rule like this where they tried to make it like a state law that kids had to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Like you couldn't opt out of it unless you had a parent who said you could opt out of it. But if the parent didn't say it, then the child was forced. It didn't pass. But they put
and if they were disabled, they could beat them. Probably.
Oh yeah, it was like the Missouri law. Yeah, so like a lot of these laws are just like messaging laws that we know this isn't going to go anywhere. But one, it's going to show that we're on your side, and two, the most important one, the libs are going to hate it. Don't you want to piss off the libs? Because Republicans have nothing left but just spite-based politics. That's it. They just want to make people angry. And I saw a really fascinating, actually, I don't know if we talk about this or not. I lose track with all this stuff. We talk about everything, but I saw something about the fact that church attendance is dropping, right? Mm-hmm. But there are people who are like, it is like, it's not like no one's joining the church. People still are joining, mm-hmm. but people started joining evangelical churches more after the Trump administration. And when they would talk to these people and interview them, it wasn't for religious reasons specifically. It was just for social reasons that, these. Oh, have you seen that too?
Yeah, no, we talked about it when we're
okay.
Yeah, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Continue.
Yeah. And so these folks were just like, they just want to signal to them that, oh, this is what we're supposed to like. This is what, it means to be a good American. Whether it makes sense or not doesn't matter. It's just, like, this is like you're peacocking, showing that I'm a proud nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July, and this is how we're gonna act. And it's weird to see.
Which TJ, to be fair, I feel like is a lot of religious people just do it for social reasons and not religious reasons.
True. Good point.
But I mean, I think the thing here, like I saw a TikTok today, I think it really like signifies what the problem is here. Is that it was kind of like what we're talking about yesterday, how Juneteenth, 4th of July, it's like. Yeah, you assume that the 4th of July isn't freedom for white people specifically because white is the default to you. Like you just treat this as the default. It's normal. Like the 4th of July was only freedom for white people. The black people weren't free until Juneteenth, and that is just the facts of the matter. But you don't view it that way because it's so normalized that just white is the default. And it's the same thing with Christianity being the default. It's so normalized that Christianity is the default that it's just like, oh yeah, what's a big deal? It's like, oh, the 10 Commandments, who's that going to hurt? It's like, yeah, I kind of agree with that in general. Like, I don't think children are going to be hurt by a poster of the 10 Commandments up in the schools, but it's the point. It's the fact that you're putting this religion above other religions and telling some kids that they're worse because they aren't in this normalized community by default. Like, that's the problem. And I saw the TikTok today, and it was like calling out this like teacher influencer, right? And this teacher influencer was upset about this. And the teacher influencer had said, I'd like to create a curriculum just to piss off the conservatives at one point. It's like, we'll do pole dancing for children and lesbian fucking yoga. And it was like, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, that fucking TikTok summed up every problem and they're like, yeah, the 10 Commandments, not a big deal. It's like, well, the fact that you don't think it's a big deal, but you think that teaching pole dancing to children would be a big deal kind of just shows you that it is a big deal because it's something. The only reason you don't think it's a big deal is because it's normalized for you because you're Christian. And also you're comparing a hypothetical tweet by a random fucking teacher to state enforced religious dogma. Like they are two completely separate sides of the aisle, but it's just like we talk about how it's like, oh, we don't actually mean the elites. We mean like fucking actors and teachers. It's like, for whatever reason, that's the thing. And it's like, no, this is the thing that the politicians are actually doing versus this culture war bullshit that doesn't actually matter. And it's so frustrating. It's like banging the head against the wall.
There was something I saw about that where people tried to do that with like beating conservatives at their own game. I think it was Texas. I want to think it's Texas, but some school or some district or maybe even the state like passed a measure stating that schools had to have like "In God We Trust" somewhere in like the hallway or something, and some schools would like put "In God We Trust" on a rainbow flag. My favorite one was they had "In God We Trust" in Arabic. That one was really funny.
That's funny.
And
actually more accurate.
So it's just that I don't know. I just hate that I'm not like, we're not even religious, but it's just so fucking insulting. Like, even if you don't believe in God or anything like that, it's insulting to thousands of years of tradition and faith and culture to just debase this belief system into spite. Because that's all it is. It's all it is. It's always like, oh, we're going to own the... It's kind of like how Christians will just wish people Merry Christmas with as much malice as they can possibly pull together, you know, from mid-Thanksgiving on.
The entire purpose of the fucking holiday.
It's
just spite. Yeah.
Just Merry Christmas. Or in my house, we say Merry Christmas. Like, no happiness, no joy, no goodwill toward men to be found in a single letter of the words they say. And I shouldn't feel bad for you. I shouldn't be feeling bad for your dismissal of your own God. Like, do your faith the credit of practicing the love you pretend to have. I don't know.
I guarantee you that Jesus would be much more better buddies with me than he would with any evangelical.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, because you're a drunkard and a prostitute. So, all right, that's the comments here. Okay, so I saw this one earlier. Islam, Christianity, and Jews have the same God or variation of the same God. Okay, you're right. Technically, you're technically true. It is the same God. I saw Ben and narrator pointing that out. You fucking nerds. I know your point holds true, but the Muslim God is the Christian God. That's true.
That isn't true. Like, that's just not. That's like saying that, like, because it's. How do I put it?
It is true.
Well, that's like saying that 1960s Batman is the same as Christian or that Christian Bale Batman. No, they're two different fucking characters. They're completely different characters. They just have the same name. Like, they're different.
Batman, though, right?
Like, Old Testament God is a different God than New Testament God. They are different characters. They are not. You cannot convince me they're the same person, because they're not.
So, well, all right. So if we're like into the theology of it and everything, so. Like, the Old Testament God, Yahweh, if it would make sense, like, because you get into the Christian doctrine of the Trinity, it starts falling apart. Like, it all starts falling apart because it shouldn't be three gods. It should just be one. It doesn't make any sense. So in that sense, like,
needlessly confusing. I don't know why.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. And so that does kind of fall apart that way. You would have a hard time arguing the God of Islam is not the same, though, because like there's a direct through line there. I mean, it's the same. That's a good example, though, used about Batman. It's the same character in different interpretations. That's probably the best way to put it. Let's see. The Communist Manifesto should be required curriculum for every middle school kid. I mean, that's
middle school. No, I'm not going to do that to middle schoolers. High schoolers, it's not a pleasant read. And honestly, if I want to teach communist ideology, I'm not giving kids the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah, page. Yeah, that's I don't know. Let's see. Oh, we got a Wolfie comment. Wolfie looks like my cat Gracie, who we got back today. He's been gone for months. Oh no! I'm glad Gracie is back. Yeah. I was like, did Gracie...
I saw that comment come through. I was like, holy shit, good for you, Ben.
Like, was Gracie visiting relatives, or did Gracie run away? Like, what's the story here?
I read that as Gracie ran away, or Gracie's an outdoor cat that just decided to be outdoor for a while.
Outdoor cats are the fucking best, man. They are so. Outdoor cats, like, if reincarnation is real, I'd love to come back as an outdoor cat, because they look like they're just having the time of their lives. Man, they literally get the best of both worlds. They get to go out and do cat stuff, and they come in for a couple hours and get some,
they get air conditioning and they get to hunt. Like, what?
Yeah, it's so great. Like, so there's a YouTube channel called Jackson Galaxy that my girlfriend got me into watching. He does all these cat videos, and I remember him talking about outdoor cats and indoor cats, and someone asked him, is like which. How do you think cats should live, as outdoor or indoor? And he says, well, listen, indoor cats live like 5 times longer, obviously, but he says that I think outdoor cats actually live happier lives because they do what cats are meant to do. They're meant to like, run around and chase animals and run from other cats and shit. Like they enjoy themselves. So I don't know. I think the the indoor outdoor cat deal is pretty good. My favorite cats are that way. One of my hottest takes is that we'll know racism is gone when there are either no Black Latin categories on porn sites, or they add a white category. John, we talked about this before once, didn't we? About how porn is one of the most racist areas in modern life, where you can just get away with it. Like you have like here's an Asian porn. It's called Yellowtail. Like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? He's got Mr. Smith is gonna slip her the Mushu pork. You're like, all right, this is just kind of.
I do kind of agree with it. Like when a white category gets added to Pornhub, that does feel like a racial equality moment. I don't know if there is. There might be a white. I don't know. No, there probably isn't, because there's probably like an Irish category and an Italian category.
Yeah, I'd imagine you have to go to like a majority non-white country for there to be a white category. I should get a B. Next time I'm in a majority. I've never, not never, but it's been a very long time since I've been in a majority non-white country. But I'm going to do this. I'll do some research. If anyone in our audience right now is watching from Nigeria or something like this, tell me if there's white Pornhub category. All right, well, we can find it. You know how Pornhub releases that map every year of like the most search? They do it by country too. Like I guarantee you, I would be shocked if there wasn't one, just for practicality's sake.
Yeah, makes sense.
Let's see. My favorite is how the flying spaghetti monster came about in Kansas. If you don't know, check Wikipedia later. Okay, I don't know that story about
I recognize the name, that phrase.
Oh, I know about the flying spaghetti monster. It's like the substitute for God. It's like it's just as real as God. So people say they worship the flying spaghetti monster.
Worship the flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah, there's something with pasta. They're pastafarians. That's what they're called, pastafarians, which is pretty funny.
That's really funny.
And like he's called his noodliness or something. I can't remember, but it is funny. People wear colanders on their head as like as their religious headgear. Yeah. But I don't know about Kansas though. What has to do with Kansas? What would you say the Protestant God is different than the Catholic God? Oh, this is what we were talking about earlier. No. I think the Protestant God and Catholic God that's the same character, I'd imagine.
I think, it's basically the same character. Yeah, it's the supporting characters that change things for the Protestants and the Catholics.
The Catholics get Mary as like a semi-god, which the Protestants ain't dealing nothing with that shit. So
the fucking Protestants don't actually eat the blood of blood of Christ. You guys just eat bread and wine. My bread turns into human flesh when I consume it, and it very specifically happens when I consume it, not when it goes into my mouth. This was a debate. It was a major debate. People died over this.
Man. Catholics are like the worst Avengers imaginable. Their superpower is turning crackers into human flesh on certain occasions. It's like, so I remember, so correct me if I'm wrong on this, John, but I remember learning, I think I was in college. I didn't know that there's Catholic doctrine that not only was Mary a virgin when she gave birth to Jesus, but she stayed a virgin. Perpetual virginity. That's what it was the doctrine. And I learned that and I said, okay, that is less believable than her giving birth as a virgin. That she's like, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to have sex ever. Like my birth canal is only one way. Like nothing is coming up inside Mary whatsoever. But
so just us Iron Manning that ridiculous argument. I do think that if I was married and I did give a virgin birth, like I never had sex, and then I had a kid, and the angel Seraphim came down and was like, "You're having this kid," and then it happened, I would just do whatever the fuck they told me to do. Like I just like the dude who survived Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's like, you know what? I have full faith in whatever the fuck you want to tell me. Like if you don't want me to have sex, I'm never having sex.
No, did they tell her that? I thought she just didn't. I didn't know she was instructed not to. I didn't know that.
Well, no, she wasn't instructed. I mean, I guess she was married to Joseph.
She was married, right? So, like, what was I don't know. Because there's certainly no Bible verse where they say you can't have. I would have known that, but I don't.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, no, I had actually not heard that before. So it was not taught in my Catholic church.
Let me see. What did can you? Well, I gotta pull it up. Someone with a comment there. Can you read narrator's comment there?
Too long didn't read. Kansas said you have to teach all different theories for creation to force creationism into schools. So someone came up with Pastafarianism.
I love that.
Got ya. That's the other thing, though. Like, I learned a lot of religions in school. Like that, like I learned it academically. Like in world history and world literature. Like we talked about world religions all the time. It's actually what like caused me to like. I was never religious, but it's really what caused me to just like be like, oh, this is the dumbest thing ever that we say we believe in this, because like you just see, like you study it, you just see the whisper down the lane effects of these religions. Like, this is clearly not true. We know why this is part of the Bible. It was for political reasons. We know this as a fact, and yet we just pretend it's not. Like, it's like, what the fuck?
I love when that happens, when like a document is written like just for an obvious grift or something like that, and it's taken super seriously. Say what?
Tithing.
Yeah. So you know what I really like? Dante's Inferno. A lot of ideas of what we get from hell is not in the Bible. It's in Dante's fucking Inferno. And except like the most important part where like the last circle of hell is freezing, that doesn't appear anywhere. And like it's all just the fire shit. But my favorite part about Dante's Inferno is that he basically wrote it to like talk shit about like popes and political rivals he didn't like. And then in Dante's Inferno, he runs across Virgil, and Virgil was like a Roman poet or something like that. And he's in hell, but because he's not a Christian, but he's in like the best part of hell because it's called like the virtuous pagan or something like that. And Virgil's one of the great poets of antiquity. And Dante is a character in Dante's Inferno. He wrote himself into the story. And what I love about this the most is that Dante meets Virgil, and Virgil just spends a whole lot of time gassing up Dante. Like, Dante, you're so great. It's like, you're so awesome. Like,
he just wrote a fanfic. He wrote a fanfic where his favorite character, it's like a 13-year-old girl writing a One Direction fanfic about how Niall wants to fuck her.
It's so funny. It's just yeah, I died and went to heaven and met James Baldwin. He was like, "Oh, TJ, I've seen your videos, man. That's incredible. You're so thoughtful and like you're so smart. How do you do it, TJ?" That's exactly what Dante did, and it's like it's been a famous work of poetry for like 700 years. Dante just kissing his own ass, filleting himself. Just like, oh, we need to have every 11th grader in the country read this. It's just very funny. When I hear Virgil, I think of Devil May Cry 5, same with Dante. Yep, that's true. I thought that as well. Okay, Jesus, 8:15. All right.
Yeah, we should pick a last topic here.
Oh, which one, John? We want to do DeSantis?
Do we want to be good little boys and do DeSantis?
You know, the boys.
Or do we want to do the boys?
Well, so it's funny. I actually I messaged Coach D about this last night, and I said, "Hey, have you ever watched The Boys?" And his answer was, "No. What is The Boys?" So
it's not big in Louisiana for whatever reason. I don't know why.
So I told him, and he goes, "Oh, okay." He's like, I'll watch a couple episodes, and then we can talk about it and everything." It's like, all right, well, you'll be like 5 years behind what we're talking about here. But I did want to get his opinions on it and everything. But yesterday, John and I were just talking about how funny it is that conservatives are just now figuring out that The Boys has been making fun of them for years. And I made a video about this, and I still get so many comments from people. By the way, we talked about this before, how obnoxious it is when you just do a throwaway video that does well. It's a dumbass video. This video, I keep getting comments on it. I was like, I don't want to see it anymore. And people keep commenting. Look,
I made one, TJ. I made one last season, and it's gone. It's like not viral, but like it's starting to get comments again. I'm just like, okay,
knock it off. But people keep coming. No, Homelander's not a parody for the boys. And I was like, okay. I actually looked up because I was like, did Eric Kripke actually ever say this? Because he did not tell me. I could see it. And I found this article in Rolling Stone, and they said, hey, so you're really pushing the Homelander is Trump thing really hard this season. You're really going over top with it. And Eric Kripke said, well, look, Trump has always been an analog for Homelander. I thought that was pretty clear. He says, but I'm really going over the top now. And I checked. He said that 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Like, it's not even been a secret. And it's just, why? Why, man? Why are they so dumb? What's going on? I don't get it.
It honestly, like, it feels like they must be lying. You know what? I'm gonna give. We talked about the bear thing. And I have the same reaction that I feel like a lot of men had about the bear thing. It was like, no, you can't actually want to be in a forest with a bear instead of a man. I don't believe you. That's how I feel about people.
Oh,
like,
interesting.
Oh, it got woke this season. Like, get the fuck out of here. It has always been like this. And I saw like a tweet, and it was like, I hate the people who are mad about the boys going woke, and that's why it sucks this season. No, it sucks this season because the writing got so much worse and the characters so much worse. It's like, no, this is how it has always been. I have been like, from a, not that like, oh, I'm a film major, I know this shit better than you. The writing has never been that good. It's always been so crazily over the top. The characters have never been well developed. You want a well developed characters and good writing, good dialogue show about superheroes being realistic. Go watch Invincible.
Invincible's great.
This show is a political allegory first and everything else second. In fact, if you compare it to the fucking comics, the comics kind of suck because it's just a superhero satire. It's just a satire of superheroes. The political shit got added in by Eric Kripke, and it is the main point of the show. And it has been that way since season 1. And if you are watching now and you're like, oh, it sucks now. No, it's just more heavy-handed because of idiots like you who weren't getting it. Even though it was that heavy-handed from season 1, it's always been this way. And you know what? The fact that it took them literally inserting Marjorie Taylor Greene influencer into the story for you to fucking get it, like, I love that they gave her no powers. And maybe like, I love that she has no actual powers. Like, that is the funniest part of it. They're like, if we make her strong, they won't get it. We have to make her weak.
So this isn't like, well, I'll get that Marjorie Taylor Greene character later, but because I have a lot to say about her. But also the boys, like, yeah, it's a political commentary masquerading as a superhero television program. It's also basically a comedy. I mean, like, it's a dark comedy. Like, yeah. It's like I feel like I laugh every scene, even the scenes that are like serious and like not really funny. It's just like the scene when do you remember the scene when Butcher and Mother's Milk are in like the infirmary, or not the infirmary, the nursery for the infant superheroes, and he picks up the baby superhero that's shooting the blue lasers out of his eyes, and he's like chopping people's heads off. Butcher's like, holy fuck, that was diabolical. I just love that shit. It's just so fucking absurd. But I don't know. I almost wish they hadn't have gone so ham-fisted with this season, because it's just like it's not even inspiration anymore. Like, Homelander's literally on trial for killing someone on Fifth Avenue. He's wearing orange underwear. He has a sham trial. It's like all of it is just right on the nose. But it took that for people to get it. And I guess I can kind of see it from the filmmaker's point of view, that you're trying to get a message across and people aren't getting it. And this is like, whenever you bring this up, a lot of things that right when you're say is like, oh, they make fun of both sides. Only one side's complaining, though. Only one side's complaining, that it isn't going to be, oh, he's getting. Did you watch episode 3, John?
I did. I watched it last night, and I will say the scene with Homelander failing to kill Huey was dumb.
Come on, man.
It was so dumb. I will agree with the criticism there. It was real. He should have been able to kill Huey
easily.
Very easily.
Yeah, easily.
And that is like kind of the biggest flaw with the show in my mind, is that Homelander should be able to easily handle these situations, and they do a decent job of explaining why he can't. But at this point, with the things holding him back off, why isn't he just killing everyone yet? You know,
right? Yeah,
right. That's why I say I do think I agree with your take yesterday. I'm forgetting her name, but the smart one,
Sister Sage.
Sister Sage is going to be the pivotal moment where I'm like, what they do with this character decides whether I think this show is going to end well or not, because she's a giant fucking, I don't know. And it's the first time in The Boys where I've been like, I don't know what this character's motivations are. And it's very interesting.
So with the two new characters, first with Firecracker is that she was modeled after Marjorie Taylor Greene, to inspired by her and everything. And so it was funny when she did like she snapped her fingers and it had like little firework, and Sage is like, well, that's pretty unimpressive. And she's like, well, I'm strong too. And so it was just very, but we don't know how powerful Firecracker actually is. Cause she has like Jubilee powers or something like that, but we don't know.
Jubilee is way stronger than you actually think.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know how big of an explosion she can make, or I don't know. But also with Sage, great character idea. Like, she wasn't in the comics. Apparently, they created her for the show. Awesome. Fantastic character idea. And at the end of the episode, were you confused when she was making out with the Deep? Because I didn't know what the fuck was going on, because it showed like that stick and it had like blood on it on the table.
No, that was not explained. It'll come. I don't know what it is, but
so I was like reading around like on Reddit and stuff, and what people were surmising that this was a lobotomy stick or whatever, and so that she shoved it up her nose and fucked with her brain, and that's why she gets high, and that's why she was acting all weird, and I was like, why is she making out with Deep? The person like least likely is like, oh. And then if you look on the screen when it showed like all the superheroes they're thinking of bringing into the Seven, it lists her powers, and it states that she's the smartest person on Earth and that she has regenerative ability, so she probably grows her brain back. I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then I started thinking too with Sage is that I love the idea of a superpower being the smartest one. Did you ever see The Watchmen? Movie of I loved Ozymandias because it's like, this is the smartest person in the world. And so they have this on The Boys. And I was thinking, we don't know what Sage can do, because look, if I were the smartest person on Earth, I would not show my hand. I would actually, hold back on what I'm capable of.
That's what's interesting about her character, is that she's clearly, and something I do like about The Boys. The Boys is very politically literate. Like, The Boys characters are very politically literate in the political ideologies they are supposed to represent. Butcher is a fucking tanky, and the show goes, Butcher is bad for being a tanky. The show is pretty clear about that. And obviously Stormfront is a fucking Nazi. Fucking Homelander is a fascist, but he is not a Nazi.
But not a Nazi. Yeah,
They are ideologically consistent with their characters. And Sister Sage is definitely being a fascist, but you don't know if she actually means it. You
don't buy it for a second. No, yeah, you're right.
But she could be. I could see it end where she's a bad guy, and she's like, I want to use Homelander to become the enlightened despot, and I'm going to take over. And that would be an interesting thing for a character. She could also be like a good guy. I don't know, and that's why this season has been interesting to me, and why I think it definitely is pivotal on her. And I really hope that they don't fuck it up.
I would like to see Homelander die this season. I don't think they'll do it.
He can't.
Because like he's carrying the show, really. Because like he's the flagship of the show. Like, he's not the main character, the protagonist. But when you think of The Boys, you first think of Homelander than everybody else. So I don't know if the show could survive without him. But for storytelling, I would like Homelander to die, and then the bad guy shifts or something in an unexpected way. Mother's Milk too. Like, I didn't recognize him at first. He lost a lot of weight. I didn't get that.
Shaved the beard. I don't know. He reminds me now. Like, I can't stop seeing it, but he reminds me of Ice-T now in fucking Law and Order.
Okay, yeah, he does look him. Yeah.
And like he kind of does that, like the same sort of character. And I don't know if his acting changed, but it feels like it did.
Well, because he was so intimidating when he was.
I don't buy it anymore. He doesn't scare me anymore.
He's like, and so like I saw it when I first saw it, I was just like, wait, I was like, well, is it just the facial hair? And I was like, no, this guy looks like 30 pounds lighter. And people were commenting on it, and he did a video talking about it. He said that he had like you ever heard of people going DNA diets or something? I had a friend of mine who did it.
No, I have not.
So you
said because I thought I knew what you were about to say, but no, I've never heard of a DNA diet.
Well, a friend of mine I remember years ago did this, where you can get like a blood test and get your DNA products. Like, well, these are the foods that are like best for your blood type and your DNA and everything. And so he said that he had some health problems, or whatever, and so he went on this DNA diet and like didn't do all the weight training stuff anymore, take pressure off of his heart or something. So he's like 30 pounds lighter. And like, which is good for him. I mean, obviously, but the character doesn't like Mother's Milk was always like a big dude.
It doesn't hit the same. It doesn't hit. I'm sorry. Like, good for you. Definitely do what's good for your health. But you're fucking up the character, bro.
Put on a suit. Put on a super suit or something. Like, did you ever see that thing when Jensen Ackles, he played Soldier Boy, when they talked about when he first came in to get fitted for the Soldier Boy suit, and they told him he's like, well, are you gonna like pad muscles on the suit and everything? And the tailor told him, hey, Jensen, how about you bring me some muscles next April? So he went and worked out for it. But then when he came in, he's like, yeah, I put on like 15 pounds. And then Anthony Starr's like, why don't you just ask for muscles in the suit? They can do that for you. It was just so funny.
That is funny. But I love it. So I've seen I saw a tweet and it was like the reason that MM doesn't look the same is because a beard is a makeup for men.
It is,
and it's true. And you take the beard off and he looks different. But the same fucking people, and men specifically, the same men who are like, oh, I'm surprised that this girl was wearing makeup. She looks so much less attractive when she's not wearing the makeup. It's the same fucking people who didn't get that Homelander. It was supposed to be the bad guy. It's the same. And it goes to the reason, why do they not ever get, because we don't, like, they just don't have media literacy. I swear to God, I know that like it's like a very like film major centric take, but shit, we need to teach media literacy in schools. It is far more important than like basically any other high school class that you can fucking think of. I don't need kids learning calculus. They're going to fucking forget it anyway. I need them learning media literacy. It would make for such a better society.
I wonder what life must be like.
Oh my God, right? Like how dumb, like it must be hard. It must be hard to put your shoes on in the morning.
It really, because like this happens like with like Star Wars. Like we're talking about time, like Star Wars is about, the resistance against a major like political organization that has unchecked power and is a hegemon across the entire galaxy. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, now let's go bomb the shit out of Palestine. Like we're perfectly fine with it. It's like you don't see the parallels.
Another example where the creator has straight up said it and people still deny it.
Yeah. Oh, Squid Game. Do you remember? Like I remember like Tim Pool would do videos on like, well, Squid Game is actually anti-communist. It's like what? Or like Squid Game is like why capitalism is good. And it's like I don't get it. Like, I don't know how these people's brains work where you can't see like what's self-apparent right in front of you. I don't know, but whatever. Well, before we close out, predictions. Do you have any predictions for season 4 of The Boys? There's another episode that came out today. I gotta watch it after we're done here, but I don't think Sage is obviously going to double cross Homelander. That's got to happen. Like it's got to happen.
Well, she's going to double cross Homelander, but the question is, does she double cross him in a good guy kind of way or a bad guy kind of way?
I'm going to say good. I'm going to say good guy kind of way, and I'm also going to predict A-Train dies this season. I feel like he has to.
That feels right. That does feel right.
He can't keep double crossing Homelander like this. It's just not. He's done it like 5 times. Like he's gonna. I think Deep will live because why the fuck not? I just feel like Deep will be the last superhero standing at the end of the show because he's the one least deserving of it. But I don't know what they're gonna do with Ryan. I'm curious to know I have no fucking clue what they're going to do with Ryan. But my 2 big predictions are Sage will double cross Homelander for good and A-Train will die. Those are 2 predictions I have.
So my biggest thing is how they're not going to kill Butcher. And I don't know because Butcher cannot die. Butcher can't die more than Homeland. I would argue that narratively this doesn't make sense, but like the chances of Homelander dying this season aren't zero. Like I do agree with you. They could kill off Homelander and have another person take his place, specifically Butcher. But like I don't know. Like I don't know how Butcher gets out of it. I loved Butcher having the powers. I want him to have the powers again. Him like being super powered is really good for the show, and I don't like how Butcher is right now, and I really need it to stop.
Okay. So Butcher is talking to his dead wife in his brain, and a lot of people are theorizing that CIA guy by Jeffrey Dean Morgan isn't real either. They think that he might be fake because
that's actually he is. That's real. He's never been in a scene with anyone but Butcher. He's 100% fake. I pissed at myself for not noticing that.
Well, so I didn't catch that. But what I have thought that I've only seen a few people say, I don't think Huey's mom is real, because when Huey's mom first appeared, I assumed she was a vision because Butcher had just had a vision of his wife. But Huey his mom has only been in the room or outside the room with Huey. They've never been with another person. And so I know Huey went to try to get power of attorney and everything from her, but she wasn't in the room when that happened. She's only been in the room with him and his dad, or like right outside the room. I think Huey's mom is in his imagination too. I might be wrong on that, but
come to think of it, TJ, no one else. I don't think Starlight's been in that room either. And
I think it's just been Huey.
I wonder if the whole thing is in his head.
Ooh, maybe. Oh no, someone called him. The hospital called him though. The phone.
But that could have been in his head.
Oh, it could have. You're right. That's true. Yeah.
That's interesting. I think that one's less like. I think that 100% the CIA guy is in his head. He's probably canonically dead. Like he's gonna find out he's dead, and that's how he's gonna find out he's in his head. I'll make that prediction. Yeah, that's my prediction. He is dead, and Butcher is going to see that he is dead, and it's going to be the realization that unlocks something for him. That's my prediction. Book it.
I feel like you could extend Butcher's life somehow. It's Compound V, where who knows? Like anybody could.
Oh yeah, it's fucking magic. Like a wizard did it. It's gonna
Butcher
happen,
has 3 months to live. That's not gonna. Yeah, something's gonna happen there. I don't know, but all right. Close up shop for today. We appreciate it as always, folks. Anything you want to add, John?
Hey, thank you guys very much. And if we get enough views on this, we can make a weekly boys talk show. So
actually, I'm only
share it with your friends.
But there's only like 8 episodes, so we can do this. Like
TJ, next week is the debate.
The debate. That's right. What time is it?
I don't know what time it is, but we should just do that instead of the show next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll do
the debate. Yeah,
I'm in.
Join us next week here for the live stream.
Let's do it. All right.